sir. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's an honor. It's an honor getting to talk to you, sir.
Pleasure for having me.
All right, so let's get started. Let's get started. Wow. It's Sunday. What do you do on Sundays, Mr. Mafoday Sonko?
I just try to catch up from the weekend. In America, you always trying to, take care of the kids, grocery shopping. It's a rat race. So
True.
trying to just, get ready for the week as usual. But yeah, just taking it easy.
Okay, so we're certainly taking it easy. So, guys, it's a quick introduction right here. I'll try to read a little bit about his bio, but equally, like we do on the show, I mean, I make sure that it's right there for you to see, so you can read a little bit about him right here. So, Mr. Mafoday Sonko is also known as Mav. Is an engineer turned serial entrepreneur who is a founder of Socks Africa, a premier socks company, which is a mission that brings the bold and distinctive colors, architecture, and cultural artifacts found throughout Africa, the African continent, to the world of socks. Very important. You need to check that out again. Prior to Socks of Africa, Mav was the CEO of Lumo Exchange, an online money transfer company with operations in West Africa and the Philippines. He also have a career in supply chain operation, focusing on automation of work, PepsiCo supply chain automation strategy built to automated warehouses in the U.S. He is also the co-founder, which is very important. He's the co-founder of 8Bank, a digital banking and spend management platform for global non-profit, and equally the partner of a well-known online newspaper in the Gambia called Chronicles. He graduated from North Carolina State University with a degree in industrial engineering and has an MBA from the University of Manchester Alliance Manchester Business School. So right there, everything is there for us. It's let me just say it's an honor. So I'll try to make this as light as possible, because on Crude we make sure that we just have fun. It's nothing really. So we just make sure that we share ideas and we see how we can move the country forward. So let me start. Let me start by saying 2020 has been quite a messed up year.
I agree, pretty much.
In sense. So how has this year been for you?
It's been tough like everybody else. I think the pandemic just hit everybody from nowhere. I think from my perspective, I had a significant impact on my business. Family-wise, I've got 2 kids. My wife's an attorney as well. So, we're trying to figure out how to manage a 6-year-old and basically a 1-year-old now. So it's been really tough trying to, work, get on Zoom calls. My wife has the same. And we pretty much compete on whose job is more important, which is really tough to do,
Sure.
So oftentimes I find myself just scrambling. But, anything that happened in 2020, it's like a movie, pretty much. It's just crazy. It's impacted everyone.
Okay, so in order for us to kind of really understand, because I feel you're known by a very specific crowd, and I think if myself and the other regular masses don't really know who you are, it's kind of like, so I was like, okay, so who is Mav and that sort of thing. But just, I remember when you said you could call me Mav, but does calling you Mav make you feel younger and approachable? Is that, oh, it's just like a nickname you picked up along?
No, I've had that nickname since Ndaus. So it's been it's been since I was a kid. So it wasn't like I moved to America and then shortened it to Maf. But
Okay.
ever since I was in primary 3, and I've been called Maf. So yeah, either one works, Mafoday or Maf. Either way works for me.
Okay. You are from a very you've been able to you studied from very, oh my bad.
No problem.
You studied from very prestigious universities, and you know how and what the Gambian educational system is like.
Yeah.
So just for us to start a little bit from there. What form of what kind of reform can be done in the Gambian educational system that will make us to have the caliber of success that you have?
I think that's a really tough question, because I think education in general, whether or not you're talking about Gambia or here in the US, needs to change, right? Because the way in
Okay.
which people work today change. I think in Gambia in particular, we've all seen the results that have come out of the school system. Roughly, I think 50% didn't pass.
True.
So that's really a big concern for the country, because imagine every year you have, 13,000 students joining the workforce and not being able to participate well. I think there needs to be a system change. We have to retrain teachers, in my opinion. I was fortunate enough that I went to, some pretty good schools in Gambia. So that was part of my upbringing. My parents were very involved as well. But, I think for the most part, if I had to look at what's happening in Gambia, I'll probably focus mostly in the provinces as well, because I think that's often ignored. If
Yeah.
you look at, Western region, there are a lot of private schools. The public schools are okay as well, but I think there needs to be more investment, because that's the future, right? If you have a whole generation of folks who are not being able to get the education they need, we're robbing them of their future, and that's really unfortunate.
True. Well, Madam Constant is saying upgrade our curriculum, because it's somewhere weak. I think teachers equally need to be motivated. The
Yeah,
boost in salary is somewhat going to make people want to get into that career as well. Because I mean, for a young person that is newly graduated from school, then no one would tell you that they want to go into teaching
yeah.
unless last resort.
That's true. And I think it's a chicken or egg situation, right? So you have people graduating who in Gambia don't have the right education, and then you expect that same population to teach the following generation. So, I think there needs to be a concerted effort to really invest in our teachers. To your point, they need to be paid well and incentivized to do that. And there are a bunch of different programs you can look at to do that across the country. But it's something that we have to focus on as a country. We're not going to move forward without it.
True. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, and
Yeah.
what were your parents like?
I love my childhood in Gambia. When I was growing up, I lived in Kanifing. I was very into sports. Huh?
Anything?
What
I said
Kanifing, laddie?
what?
Kanifing South.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
cool. That's where I was most of the time. I used to play basketball all the time. So if you know some people, that's probably what they know me for. I was a very competitive kid. Time when I'm at YMCA, Hale and Gay play on one side of the court, I didn't play at Kotoe. So, um, I had a lot of fun in Gambia, and
Okay.
I moved here when I was 15, and I think part of me when I was growing up, Connect and get Nafs, I'm over America. And when I moved over here, and I was just like, man, I'm actually missing Gambia, because there was so much fun. You can walk everywhere, and so yeah, it was a great childhood.
Uh, were you do you consider did you consider yourself as a special child?
No, I think I'm a middle child, so I'm always asking for attention. So uh,
Very.
I wouldn't say I'm a special child. I think I work hard and I'm very ambitious. I try to take certain risks. I think that's one thing that I feel like at a very young age you can try and do. As I grow older with two kids, my risk appetite has changed a little bit, but
True.
I just work hard and try to be the best that I can.
Now, in terms of working hard, you are listen. Just after reading as much as I try to summarize your bio, it's weighty. It has depth. You have
Mm.
worked extensively to create a name for yourself. Before we get into all of those details, now, what did you do when you got your first million?
Million? Shoot, I
I mean,
haven't
come
got my first million yet. What are you talking about?
on,
I
mom.
mean, why? I mean, like, more lol.
Let's just be real. Okay.
No, 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 no,
Okay, if you don't want to base it on the American standard, right? Let's say in the Gambian context, you're a millionaire.
I think you can say a lot of Gambians in America are millionaires in Gambian context, right? Because if you multiply it out, you got a good stack over there. But
Yes. So
no,
let's
I think
let's base it to that. Wow.
no, I think people are gonna work hard. It's a journey trying to build a business or just to make it in life. I would say I'm fairly young. I'm 35, but definitely haven't had my first $1 million. I'll put that out there for sure.
But I know based on the gambling standard, like when you felt like you had enough money, what did you do with that first big check? You know, there's always when we work and there's always a project that brings in, you know what I'm saying, like that big first check that is impressive. When you got that, what did you do with it?
I would say I haven't had my first big check in the entrepreneur space. I would say when I was working at PepsiCo, I made a good living.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to remember. I think I, gave some to my parents. I paid off a few bills here and there. I bought some property in Gambia, but I think for the most part, I think I still have a long way to go. I still feel like there's a lot to achieve.
Hmm.
So I'm not really focused on, how much money do I have now. I think it's a long game, and I got to reinvest in what I have and opportunities in front of me.
How do you treat family members, friends that are always on the phone asking for money? Because we know that culture. Everyone that knows that young you Europe, you're in America, there's always that perception that they have way more than they need, and they could just spare some change at any given time. How do you treat those people? What do you say? Like,
And I've been pretty lucky that, I haven't been had that many requests, and I've been very honest. I'm not a flashy guy, so people know, what you see is what you get. So, if I have an opportunity to help people out, I'll help. But I've been fortunate that most of my family members have gone on and done well for themselves as well. So, that hasn't been a particular issue for me. I'm sure if I was in Gambia and not in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the middle of nowhere, it might be different. But I'm sure that'll change once I move back to Gambia, I guess.
all right. You graduated from North Carolina State University
Yeah.
with a degree in industrial engineering, and
Mhm.
I think that's a field that I don't think we have in Gambia yet. So,
Yeah.
for a layman, what would you describe industrial engineering to be?
I think industrial engineering is one of the most flexible engineering degrees you can get. It focuses on process improvement, supply chain. And what we mean by supply chain is how do you move goods within an ecosystem, whether it's manufactured goods or, whether it's stuff like, your Nikes that you get, how's it going from being manufactured and shipped all the way to you? You can
Yeah.
get into finance because you're dealing with, trying to, reduce costs in operations. And so for
Mhm.
me, I actually wanted to become a civil engineer. But after I took statics, I failed that class, and I was like,
Like a badu for
I
the
don't
man,
think I don't
badu
think that's gonna work for me. Huh? Sorry, you were breaking up. Can you repeat that?
No, I said, is it not further maths? Like, and in Gambia, there's this subject called further maths in school.
Yeah. So it's
Was it
like the
was it math?
fundamentals. Yeah, it was very math heavy. It was fundamentals of civil engineering, like calculating forces and stuff, and I just didn't get it. So, I remember I failed the class, and I went to the professor. I was like, look, is there any way I can succeed in this field without getting this fundamental? He's like, no. So I literally walked out of the civil engineering department, and I looked to the right, it was industrial engineering. I looked to the left, it was it was business. But I always wanted to become an engineer, so I just
Okay.
walked over to the industrial engineering department, and I just signed up, and it worked out. I think I found my niche, but that was a tough semester, man. It was rough.
Okay. So you're certainly able to give up something for something. And do you feel that the decision you made was better?
Absolutely. I think, I started the first 10 years of my career my first job was in South Carolina
Mhm.
building, it was a fabric manufacturing plant. So we were building warming blankets. So, I went from there into automation where we were building robotic systems for warehouses, for Walmart, Targets. Then I
Yeah.
went to PepsiCo doing the same thing. And I got into fintech, which is financial technology. And I don't
Mhm.
think I would be able to do that if I was a civil engineer because it's just such a specific field. And I think,
Yes.
industrial engineering gave me a lot of flexibility.
Nice. Well, so currently, where do you see yourself now? How do you balance the Syrian entrepreneurship and your career as an engineer?
It's interesting. So, about 4 years ago, I quit my job at PepsiCo, which was really tough.
Hmm.
I started my first company. It was in money transfers. Like I mentioned, we tried to build something new, which
Yeah.
was really allow people to compare rates and send money. We raised some capital, scaled it across the U.S., and really took the right approach to do it.
Yes.
Ran it for a couple of years, and at the end of the day, we couldn't raise enough capital to grow, so we shut it down. And then I started Stocks of Africa because it was just a side gig, and it was a gap that I saw.
Okay.
When I go on Instagram, you have all these African-related clothing, but they're focused on women. So I
Okay.
try to find something that was focused on that men and women can put on, and
Mhm.
socks was an area that was less saturated. So we started doing that. My wife and I, another partner of mine, all Gambian, started off, and
Nice.
we launched it earlier this year, and it's working great. It's something that we like to have fun. We release designs every month or so. And I started Aid Bank. That was something that my wife, I had to get some extra approval because she's like, you can't continue just starting businesses like this. So, but Aid Bank was another one that we started, which is really just, again, trying to innovate in the nonprofit space.
Mhm.
And there's some opportunities that I'm looking at, in the banking space where, I can continue to build my career and then also have my businesses on the side.
Okay.
And that's kind of the approach moving forward, really just trying to balance it that way.
Okay. So entrepreneurship is, as we know, is the future.
Mhm.
Being, being sustainable, basically being financially independent is the goal. The goal is the goal that certainly every youth man, we say in
Yeah,
Gambia, every youth man is trying to achieve.
yeah,
Um, there's the Socks of Africa, like you mentioned, and guys, right there, if you're reading the bio as well, so go to the website www.socksofafrica.com and just choose from the variety that they have to offer as well. So as you mentioned, the the financial angle of things, you have
yeah.
the now. What's the asset bank about?
Aid Bank.
Yeah. So yeah.
So basically, what we're
Yes.
trying to solve for is, global nonprofits
Yeah.
are in a lot of developing countries, right? So you have a lot of projects going on.
Yeah.
What we've seen is that there's a lot of complexity in managing their bank accounts. I'll give you an example. World Vision, which is one of the largest aid organizations in the world, has 2,000 bank accounts with 200 different financial institutions in over 100 countries. So on average, yeah, that organization is managing 20 bank accounts in every country. So what we're trying to do is help simplify their financial footprint globally by issuing them a corporate account here and then allowing them to continue to support their global operations. It's a huge bet. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we think there's a avenue to try and enable them to be more nimble, to provide aid more efficiently. But
Mhm.
also, the flip side of aid is that there's a lot of corruption. We all know this, right?
True.
And as as these new breed of Africans, we want to make sure that aid goes to the right place, and we don't have this cycle of aid because we need to get out of it. It's not helpful. It makes our governments lazy, where they're dependent on aid to deliver basic things they need. And I think we
True.
want to bring some transparency to that market. So we're very early on in this stage. We've got
Okay.
a couple clients, but we're building it out at the moment.
I certainly have a lot of questions as to how exactly people could be part of this
Mm.
at this particular point, but eventually we'll certainly get back into it. So, guys, but
Sure.
we have Maf right here, Mafoday Sonko, that's joining us on Crude this evening, and it's great that we're having this conversation at this point. Now, quickly before we get into the famous "How Gambian Are You" segment, which most people actually find as fun. I equally be reading some of the comments that we have over here coming through. You left the country when you were 15, so it's going to be interesting getting to hear what you know about Gambia at this point. Um,
Yeah.
you're married with 2 kids, beautiful man. I equally have a 1-year-old, and it is. How do
Yep.
you deal though? So let me ask you, how do you deal with your 1-year-old? How do you
I
do it?
don't. She's the one who's handling me. It's a lot of work. And I think she's a little bit different from my son because when we had our son,
Yes.
he was great, and people were telling, hey, sa second don this new morning and so on, and we didn't believe it. But this little one, is everywhere, opening up the cupboards and stuff, and
Yes.
yeah, it's tough, man. Especially with
That
COVID, you can't take them to daycare, and that's
no,
very
no, no.
tough.
don't know, but you wouldn't want to. You certainly would not want to risk that, especially at this point.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yes, I have some comments over here as well. I love that way wanting to aid. Okay, wanting aid to reach the right people. Yes, I mean, I think as Africa, we receive a lot of aid,
Yeah,
and the African government receives a lot of aid, especially Gambia, with the state of the country. There's so much aid that's being sent to the country, but nobody sees that money or where
yeah,
that particular is going to. Now,
yeah.
how can how can the aid that is being sent to the country be used adequately? What do you think?
It comes down to transparency and having an audit trail. So, if we sent Gambia $10 million, I'll give you an example: COVID, right?
Yes,
So
true.
we received a lot of funds.
Yeah,
And if you look at the line item of where the money has been spent, it's cars and hotels. I'm like, how is this going to help the people?
true.
And the reporting requirements is, you have these organizations moving millions of dollars to the government or whatever local entity, and then they ask for reports. But how do you know they actually spent the money where it's going, right? And so what we're doing is with Aid Bank, the funds never actually leave the donor organization. They'll create a line item budget, right?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
then the local entity has to spend from that budget, which means you can't just go buy a car if you don't need a car, right?
Oh,
Everything is
yes.
tied back to the budget, so you have real-time visibility. You can block transactions, you can freeze projects, so that you hold people accountable. Because for the life of me, if I went to Gambia I think it was last year, yeah,
Yeah.
and I see all these cars, project-related cars. Every new
Mhm.
project, the first thing they do is buy cars. For
Yeah.
what? I mean, you have so many cars that the government has used that they just destroyed. And that needs to change, because to be honest, we can't continue to just have the same cycle of aid being mismanaged and the people struggling. And I think, yeah, we need to change that.
There certainly needs to be changed. There's a comment that says they're waiting for the women and girl version of the socks which you currently have and the pack. Well,
Yes,
are
so
we?
they are unisex. We do have
Okay.
customers who put them on their women. We will probably try and set a new size, because it's from 8 to 14, and
Mhm.
women's size is a little bit smaller. So yeah, we're definitely working on that for sure.
Okay, that's good. Quick question before we go into no. So what do you want me do you want to answer the question that I'm about to give you, or you want us to go into how Gambian are you? You have the chance to choose now.
Whichever one you want to go with. I think I've got some
Okay,
good
so
strikes.
so I think I'll give you that question after we do this segment.
Okay.
It's called How Gambian Are You? But just quickly, a comment right here. Unisex, yes. The socks are unisex, Mkiwa. Just let it go. Get the socks. I'll buy you a pair. You will rock them. Digitalizing the economy and government is so important. Very true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think for especially for the African continent, it's important that that is put in place, because equally the people are able to see somewhat. Do you make the information that you have public? Does that
Mhm.
make-
Yep. No, digitizing our economy is one, but also digitizing our institutions,
Okay.
governments, paperwork when it comes to the perfect example, land's office. If you walk into
Yeah.
the land's office and try to get your title deed, there's a whole bunch of papers, right? And there's also tax revenue that's lost. I think we definitely have to digitize our government and our records, so
True.
that we see where things go. But that is part of the future. If we don't do it, there'll be corruption and people will be gaming the system.
So the digitalization of the government and the content that they have, the
Yeah.
documents is important, because, for example, if you're crossing the border between Gambia and Senegal, and you
Mhm.
are at the border and you go into the Gambian space, the Gambian what's it called, immigration office, and you
Mhm.
see files of entry sheets of how, basically how they register the cars and how they register
Yep.
the individuals that are crossing through.
And the
I
payments
said,
associated with too.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, God forbid there's a rain that just comes through and everywhere is flooded, or accidentally some fire erupts, and this is information that we're losing forever.
Yep.
No computer, there's nothing.
There's nothing. I mean, that's a huge problem. It's just an accident waiting to happen, and there might be some bad actors that will go in there and do it
Yeah,
on purpose. You never know. And
but different equally is once you cross the border, just a few steps away, the Senegalese have everything on computer, like
yeah,
everything from your
yeah,
passport. But
it's
why
strange,
can't
right?
we pick that up? Why can't we emulate that?
I don't know. I think Senegal. I think one thing, if you look at the French countries in West Africa, they're a little bit more organized than the English speaking countries, right? I think the French spent a little bit more on organization. I think Senegal was also, um, a seat where the French actually spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on building up their processes, and they have done a good job. I think they're the only West African country without a coup to date, and hopefully, inshallah, it will continue to be that way. But there's no reason why we can't be just as good. It just unfortunate that we're in the situation we're in, but it's going to take all of us to put our hand and help in whatever way it may be.
Okay. It's certainly going to take time for us to put our hands together if they eventually allow us to even put our hands together. Because I mean, it's one thing to want to make change, and given the platform, given the chance to change, especially the reform that the government is needing.
Mm.
How Gambian are you? Let's get this going. Let's get this going. Guys, Mav is going to be needing your help. For all the people, Panda, she's the president of the Comment Section Association. So she's like here all the time. So she's the one that gives people answer. so it's easier. It's easier if you just read the answers. Oh, but I love to hear. I love to hear your answers though.
Okay.
Yeah, and I see people already have their popcorn ready. So welcome.
Well, hopefully I won't disappoint. We'll see.
So Mafoday Sonko, Maf is taking over right now on the trivial questions. How Gambian are you? Question number 1. Name an accessory Gambians are identified by. There's an accessory. Ooh, look at that. Yeah. Okay.
The Gambian ID, Lambi.
Exactly. I see you're coming. I see you're coming in strong. You're coming in strong. Okay. So
Right,
so that is, how do you call that?
Lam gadi, lam.
Lam.
Yep.
All right. So that's number 1. Number 2. If you've been at or you left when you were 15, but have you ever attended the Workers' Day event at the stadium, or you've watched?
I've heard of it. I'm probably my parents have had some
Okay.
stuff down there. But let's shoot the question. Let me see if I can.
All right. So the question is, what are some of the activities that happen during Workers' Day in at the stadium in Gambia? If you have an idea as to what exactly they do on Workers' Day events.
Play football.
Football?
Sure.
No. Your first one, football. Football is out. They don't play football during Workers' Day. So so Comment Section Association. This is the time when you come in and help.
So Workers' Day, what they do at the stadium?
So I can't give you the answer. You will have to ask them so they can.
Let's repeat the question. Let's
so
get
the
it
question.
a second time.
So if you've been to Workers' Day events at the stadium, what are some of the activities of the day? That's the question.
There's I can't remember it, but you know how you pull the rope back and forth? What's that called? Whatever that.
Maaf, loolu dafa am tur.
Dama fay tur bi di.
Pull the rope.
I forgot the name of it, but they have 2 teams pulling a damn rope and one of them wins, right? So
But yeah, there's a name. There's a name for it. There's a Makiwa, please.
I'm gonna fail this one.
There's no poetry content.
I don't know.
Poetry
Tug of war. There you go. Thank you, Senator. We Senator.
Okay. There's greasy pole. Osmane greasy pole. True. Greasy pole. Yes. One more activity. There's one more. That's like a lot of people participate though. Track events.
I don't know, man. Let me think. I'm gonna do play soccer. Are you sure, man? I mean, that's kind of like the staple.
Hopefully, the guy.
I don't know, bro. I'm gonna have to pass this one.
Army always win.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Those guys are fit, man.
All right. So three activities are the track and field.
Track and field, yeah.
We have the greasy pole, which is always won by Nawek because there's a greasy pole. So they rob a
Well, they never
large,
make it to the top of the pole to get people light anyway, so they'll always fail.
and they have eating competition, and they have, like you said, tug of war. So tug of war. They equally have pillow fight. So there's like a
Pillow
pillow.
fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like
But I be fair with that because I think I was 15, so you know I'm gonna have to get a pass on this one.
Okay, you said. All right, I'll give you a pass. So that's question number 2. Question number 3. So I'm going to throw some names at you, right? I'll throw some names at you, and you tell me what you know about them, or or what you think they are. All right?
Okay.
Or what they
Yeah,
stand for. Okay?
no problem.
So the first name is Afinjang.
Say it again.
Afinjang.
Afinjang.
Yes.
Are you pronouncing it properly, Mister?
Yes, Afinjang. Do you know when if you're Gambian, if you are a Gambian, you, regardless if you're Gambian, you should know of Afinjang. So when I say Afinjang, what exactly? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Oh, Spere!
Afinjang.
Well, Afinjang.
Nah. Afinjang. That sounds like a Mandinka. A
No,
Mandinka what? The saucer. So I'm not no the saucer.
they this also. So one try,
Nah,
one
I don't
last
know
try.
that one. I guess I'm failing
What's
too.
my man? You're letting me down.
Os, have you heard this, Os? Because I haven't heard Afinjang, man. Maybe I hung out in the wrong part of Kanifing.
So Afinjang means either blow it or bring it, but it's so Afinjang was a famous dance in Gambia, well, in the time of Jammeh. So it was this Jola dance where women were literally just shaking their waist, and it was.
Let me ask you a question. What I, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go
I
ahead.
think there's a generational gap. Is that question? See? Because the first question, I got it right. But I think
Bro,
these questions are they're probably like for pre-1984 babies or something like that. You know?
Okay, so what do you know about Nawek, or what are they for? Nawek.
National Water and Electricity Company. Electricity water.
What are they known for? Like when someone says, yeah, Nawek, what does
They're
that mean?
not delivering what they're supposed to. Light them off on the amount. That's pretty standard, unfortunately.
Be like, no, Dr. D, I'm not afinjang. Yo mo sa muta afinjang la helala.
Well, how do I know ni hamna lono? Because you get your answer for it. So that wasn't count.
Okay. So in Gambia, when they say Baha, what does that mean?
Alice. Money.
Alice. What does Pura? What do you know about Pura?
Oh man.
Okay, I think there's.
Danny, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your internet, I think there's a little buffering going on.
Yeah, I'm sure my son is streaming some YouTube video somewhere. But can you repeat that?
All right. So what do you know about Pura?
Pura.
Yes, Pura.
Pura, they regulate electricity, water, and all oil import. They're the regulatory authority in Gambia.
Okay. No, yeah, Danso High School.
What about Danso High School?
Yeah. So what do you know? What do you know about them? What do you know about them? About Danso? Or what are they, like when people say Danso, what do you consider Danso High School to be?
I feel like it's probably a controversial answer, but I'm not too sure. I know Danso High School for sure, but you know, I don't know.
No, but bro, you have Danso. Danso was that school that. I tell you, this is where you need this is where you come comment section is important. This is
All
where.
right.
No, well, Hood boy said Nawek is the opposite of SAS, bro. No, Nawek and SAS is not even the same.
Yeah, now I come home.
But yes. So we used to say Danso High School because it was considered to be a good school, but they didn't actually have a high school. So it was basically a good school. It was a good primary school, like.
Mm-hmm.
But
Got it.
they did a lot of trouble, and at the end of the day, they ended up shutting down. So it was one of
Interesting.
those.
When did
It
they
was
shut it down?
a while back.
Mm.
It wasn't one of those schools that survived though.
Got it.
Um,
Got it.
so last name before I move to the next question, Big Fa. What do you know about Big Fa? Or have you heard
Oh,
of?
the shouting rapper from Gambia. I mean, that's all I know about Big Fa. I've pardon that song, Amisa. I don't
Comment
know. I
section.
just know that he's very loud in his songs.
Comment section.
Comment section. Let's see what's anybody saying. Anything. There you go.
Right.
I knew it was something like that.
Anything. All right. So complete the sentence. Gambian women are known for.
Like a setup, man. Let me think about that. For being wonderful people.
Well, Bob going back. Gambia women, wonderful people, Mav.
They're
You also
wonderful
have.
people.
Okay. Are you trying to play?
Huh?
Are you trying to play it safe?
I am playing it safe. I live in a house with a wife and 2 kids. No, but Gambian women are strong women. They're hardworking.
Okay.
They got their things straight. So if so holy that you get everywhere, they're in the farms and everything. So hardworking women for sure.
So apart from our sunny beaches, Gambian is also known for.
The diversity of the birds it has. I think it has like how many species? I forgot exactly.
It's a big side
Bird watching destination. That's what it is. Yeah.
watching destination right there. Yeah. So name 2 fruits in Gambia you can only find during the rainy season.
Mango and kaba.
Bro, kaba lutaudi.
Kabaruta. Okay. Let me take that back. Mango and oranges.
Oranges, no. I'll take mango. Give me another one.
A fruit.
Wow.
Banana. What's my score, by the way? Am I at 50%? Or am I
You're just.
What's my score? What's my score?
So we have one more.
One more? Am I at 50% or have I lost my banana?
Mango and banana during the rainy season. I see someone saying that Gambia is also known for fish, bro. Our fish is finished. Please.
Yeah, Chinese
Gambia is also known for cashew as well. So that's another export commodity right there. Last question. One Gambian song you can sing from start to finish.
Gambian song that I can sing from start to finish.
You wouldn't have to sing. If not, we'll just end the show. So
all right, cool. Here we go. So does the national anthem count?
Okay. I'll take that.
Let me back up a second. So there are a couple of people that I like their songs. There's this guy, Paul guy, but he's really good. I love his song. Bobo Jimo or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're Bobo.
I love his song. That was a good one.
Okay.
I like what's his name again? Not Big Far, but the guy that sang with Pap Juve. What's his name again?
Bye, Babu.
Bye, Babu. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have the G's of the world and all those other folks. But
Okay.
yeah.
All
And
right.
I'm a big Youssou N'Dour fan, so Youssou N'Dour I dig it, for the most part.
So there's no Gambian song on your playlist?
No, apart from the two that I mentioned, Pop Juke by Babu and Bobo Jimo. That's it.
Nah, nah. We'll get, okay, I'll put a pin to that. We'll get back to that eventually. But yes, that was How Gambian Are You? Thank you so much. You tried. So let me just say, if you're, I wouldn't give your rating, but I'll ask you to rate yourself. So over 10, how much would you give yourself?
I would say I got half of them right, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but here's the thing. I spent half of my life in America, so it kind of makes sense,
it kind of makes sense though.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is, so he gets half the mark. He certainly gets half the mark. Dr. D wants you to sing. It's not going to happen.
Nah, one guy don't wake up, so I don't think I'll even try. I'll do a disservice to all those artists.
If you were to sing, I'll ask you to sing a Youssou N'Dour song. But
no, I think New Africa is my favorite song.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones, I would say. And then, when I was dating my wife, I used to listen to Salang Salang all the time. But that's pretty much it. There you go.
So back into a few questions right here. It's amazing getting to talk to you. Then I mean, it's I feel you as an individual, we need to see a little bit more of you. It's we know your brands, we see your work here and there, but as an individual, it's good to put a face to the name, and equally as an entrepreneur as well, because most people, especially we know as Gambians, we kind of lean towards the brands from whom we know type of situation. Yeah. It's like an African thing, I support you because I know you and I feel connected to you in a sense. Yeah. And so I feel you need to attach the face to the to the brand. It's important. Yeah. Quickly, there's young people, excuse me, young people of this generation have a term that we have adopted called generational wealth. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, you hear a lot of young people talk, oh yeah, we're working towards generational wealth. And this is about generational wealth, and entrepreneurship equally in its form is equally for generational wealth. Now, what's your approach on this? And is it possible, especially for Africans at this point, to get into really working into whole generational wealth? Can it be achieved?
I think it definitely can be achieved. And I wouldn't just say you have to be an entrepreneur to achieve generational wealth, right? I think you can invest in certain assets and certain things that will help build generational wealth. But in particular, I think African businessmen in general haven't done a good job of building that generational wealth, because for the most part, there's this trust issue, right? And there's the social factor, then you have the kids. As African entrepreneurs, it's very hard to raise capital because people are very, very conservative in how they invest, right? True. It's real estate, rentals here and there, but, investing in things like high growth companies and technology, I think that's coming. I think you've seen a lot of good things coming out of Nigeria, Kenya, and some of the larger markets. For instance, Stripe, which is a big payments company, just bought a Nigerian company called Paystack for $200 million. So, those guys started in Nigeria, had to come to the US and raise some capital. But I think it's very important, even if you're not an entrepreneur, college savings is also helping to build generational wealth. I'm sure a lot of people who come to America and you get hustle, try to pay for university. But imagine if you had a college fund that just gives you one step further to also improve. We see Americans and parents laying down payment on a house. That's how they build that generational wealth, and it doesn't have to be much. It's just getting a leg up on the next guy, and I think that's half the challenge.
Now, how could we break the cycle? Now, especially us as young people, as I will call you young because you're 35. That's young, and I think that's where the youth man age bracket
Mhm.
starts. Um,
Yeah.
how do we break this? How do we begin? Because I feel like yourself, Oz, we have Mr. Oz as well right there. We have Dr. Ishmael.
Yeah.
Like you are in that age bracket. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah. We
you
also hang out in kind of things, so I know those
that's
guys.
all, so you are all with knowledge and somewhat resourceful as well. Like how could yourselves come together and begin to create some of these ventures? Because is going in to our kids to
Yeah.
some extent. Is ideas that eventually you're looking into.
I think it goes back in, yeah, there are definitely ideas I'm looking into Gambia. I think Ismail and you're gonna to get fit them no banjo start, right? So, but I
Mhm.
think it just depends on where you are in your journey, where you are in life.
Mhm.
I think sometimes, for the most part, they want to get success quick, and success doesn't come quick. It's really hard work, and sometimes you have to, take a step back and not get the flashy thing that everybody else has, right? Buying cars is one of the worst decisions you can do. It's just a depreciating asset,
True.
especially in Gambia. You see, you cash in the motor, right? But you have to invest in the future, and I think that's where education is important. You cannot generate wealth, you cannot generate capacity in a population of 2 million people, where you don't have people who can actually engage, right? So, I think it's going to take all of us. I'm not going to be here forever. I definitely want to go back to Gambia.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, when I graduate, I'm going to be smoking my talk and get some experience.
True.
But I think we've got to engage in the entrepreneurship stage. We have to engage in the public life. I think people enjoy, take away from the fact that places like Parliament or your mayoralship or your township roles are ignored. Everybody wants to be president, but you can actually impact your country in tremendous ways without even have to deal with the government.
True.
And I think we all have a responsibility to do that. But it just goes back to planning long term. That's how to they plan long term, right? You might see the most humble guy on the street when the right? Because you get halat, 2, 3 steps ahead and thinking about the next generation.
So you mentioned politics, which
Yeah.
which is at some point currently the only driving force in the country. I mean, anything else outside politics doesn't really work in Gambia. I must say that. Now, how do you create longevity in the business world, especially in Gambia at this point, when everything is politically driven?
I wouldn't necessarily agree that everything is politically driven. I think there's just a lot of noise
Okay,
where everybody's focusing on politics because it is top of mind. I mean, I think that's just everywhere, even in the US here. But you can actually go and impact in a bunch of different ways. If, for example, I'm very passionate about technology, you can engage the global economy by just being a developer, right? But we have scenarios where people want to become coders, but they don't have computers. They don't have access to internet, which is important for you to actually participate in the global economy. So you can go in and set up, a free Wi-Fi co-working space, or you can go to the upcountry and try to find ways of helping people there. And you don't have to involve yourself with the government, right? The government is supposed to help facilitate businesses, entrepreneurs, educators, or innovators. But that's just one part of the puzzle. And I think as the political landscape is maturing in Gambia and changing, you can still help as a private citizen and not necessarily engage. I'm all for young people engaging. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I'm just saying that's not the only path to impacting your country.
true. Okay. Um, as we have a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen and women that the country currently is seeing a spike in, we see that especially in the business aspect, companies, enterprises, institutions are built in Gambia, but in order for them to succeed, they have to relocate or somewhat open subsidiary branches in other African countries or neighboring countries. And you can
Yeah,
see they succeed way more over there than they
yeah,
do in, to the extent that sometimes Gambia just turns to like a house, they just, yeah, let me just turn my house is now the office because, and then they even stop coming to the country for a long period of time because they're focused outside because it's way successful. Now, how do we change that? Is there a way we're equally able to, as a people, now begin to focus on building what we have at some?
Yeah, it's tough for Gambia because they have a small market.
Okay.
That's what's driving people to leave.
Yeah.
And that's really tough to solve because it's a regional issue. So,
Right.
Halate, or let's say you have a plant in Gambia producing water, right? How can you export that and deliver it into Senegal without being tariffed, right? Because every country in West Africa has their own protectionist measures, right? You know, protect their own industry. So it's very hard to scale an operation in Gambia because the demand is low. We don't have a strong middle class to actually have the purchasing power to buy things, right? And so you end up having more of cottage-sized industries. I think the only large-scale one, it's not even large-scale, is the cement, because everybody's trying to build, right? But for the most part, we have to, as a region, allow free movement of goods. Right now in the US, you have 50 different states, all different laws, but you can sell across without being tariffed. I think that's something that will have to change. And it's going to be difficult because they're going to be winners and losers. You might have, businesses in Senegal that will survive, on some in Gambia, maybe in Guinea. But that's the only way you can scale and grow. The only way we go after it as a country is we have to build up that middle class so that there's enough demand to sustain these businesses, right?
Poverty alleviation, as Constant is mentioning. Could we read? Because I feel poverty is, especially for corporations and the Western world, the poverty of Africa is a business for them, and I feel that they have somewhat injected that idea in the people in power, because that's equally a way for them to make, that's equally a way for the government to make money in the name of poverty. Could we ever eradicate poverty?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot of willpower from our leaders and the country itself to do it, but it's not going to be an easy road. I think if you think about over the last 50 years, more than $1 trillion worth of aid has gone into Africa, right? But yet, if you wanted to start a business as an entrepreneur, so amur kir, pour tayala ko si bank do am halis, right?
True.
The bank is so they charge you outrageous interest rates, right? So how can you actually try and build a business, as an example, to help grow or feed your family? So, I think there's just a bunch of structural issues. And I think the focus on poverty elimination is wrong. I think we should focus on wealth creation. How do you invest and impact the local economy so that people can actually build for themselves? They can actually, create things, they can grow, they can manufacture, they can provide services. I think that's where things need to change. And we need to be able to just change the paradigm of how we do that, right? Now, for instance, if we're receiving $50 million in aid, why can't we have something similar to a small business administration loan where part of the loans are guaranteed, right? There's all these little things you can do, but we cannot be just nyan 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 funeka. That's not going to work.
Wow. How involved are you with the Chronicle online newspaper?
Not that much. I think the Chronicle we started last year. It just came out of my passion. One of my partners, Chedno and I, started it together. It was just really trying to build something different, because you mentioned politics. It feels like any newspaper you open up is just all politics.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do was to try and build, a new news organization that focuses on other things that happen in Gambia outside of politics, from business issues, looking at what happened in the provinces, which I'm very passionate about because I think is a very ignored area of the country, right? There are probably a lot of opportunities that people don't know about. There's not a culture of having vacation homes in your village, for example, right? That's another way of actually building these communities across the country. And so that's what we try to do. It's not something that we're going to say we're going to be making a lot of money, but it's just more doing our part, providing information that's relevant to people, analysis. But it's not easy. It's really difficult to do. Trying to help influence and run a business or a newspaper from here is hard. So we just have an editor there that actually has complete freedom to cover whatever topics they need. We just want them to be more wide open in their coverage, basically.
Beautiful. Guys, is socksofafrica.com,
Yeah.
www.socksofafrica.com. Um, it's been great having this conversation with you. It's been inspiring and enlightening as well. I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to talk to me. I mean, you're certainly an individual. Like I said, we need to match the phase, to the product.
All right.
Other, other for us to actually gravitate to it. We're really proud of the work that you do as a young man.
Thank you.
Um, Last question. What would you say is your purpose? Because I do this all the time. What would you say is your purpose as Math?
Um, I think my purpose, if anything, is just trying to create a lasting legacy,
Okay.
and to build something that outlives myself, whether it's to help people in the form of entrepreneurship, or if it's to build an organization that can last through time. I just want to have an impact in this world, in particular, impact in Gambia, because, like I said, I don't plan to be in the US forever.
Okay.
The plan is to go back home, and because even when I was 15, we're going to America, Fini, blah blah blah. When I came here, I was like, you know what, I gotta go back. So it's just being impactful in this world and try to do my part to make it a better place.
Wow. Making it a better place for everyone. I mean, I think Gambia has the ability to become a powerhouse. We're a small country, and but the fact that there's yet so much work that hasn't been done over this long period of time with the different governments that we've had is quite sad. It's certainly quite sad.
Yeah.
But we are here, we are the future, and we're eventually going to push this forward. I want to say thank you so much for the time. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to at this point?
Yeah, I want to shout out to my wife, my two kids, my siblings, mom and dad, everybody else. But I also want to thank you for creating a platform to share stories of Gambians abroad and where they might be. I think it's great. To your point, we need to be more public. Some of us are private for sure, but in good time, things would change for everyone. But I really appreciate the work you do as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I certainly wish you well. 2020 is going to. I mean, the rest of it is equally going to be
Main
great.
cancel 2020. Like, let's just look to 2021.
That's good. I was telling my wife that if 2021 is not good, I will have to ask my daughter Zoe to get a job. So
Right.
so we can. So we'll have to see how to make money other ways as well. But
Telling
uh,
you.
but thank you so much. My regards to your wife. My regards to the kids as well. To that boy, tell him to stop using too much internet because I mean it's important.
It's the weekend. It's like, it comes on Fridays. It's like, it's my turn
Yeah.
to use it. So, but yeah, so I appreciate it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have a great week.
You as well. Take care.